Hi, and welcome to MPN. I'm Whiskey Mike. Tonight, we will be discussing Noodle Tariffs, National Guard deployment stateside, Hamas and Israel ceasefire talks, Democratic leadership calling Republican leader Johnson to a debate, and British conservative leader Kimi Badenoch's direction for her party. Noodles are soon to be facing a tariff increase on their trip from Italy to America. The tariff in question is to take effect January 2026. This tariff is set to raise the existing one by almost 92%, bringing the total to around 107%. The decision on noodle tariffs was sought in part after an investigation into dumping. Dumping is a practice in which brands are exported to the U.S. below market value, thus undercutting competition. This tariff has a decent impact on the Italian economy as over 4 billion euros came from Italy's total pasta exports in 2024. The gravity of this situation and potential impacts has been reflected in business predictions. Confindustria, Italy's major business association, has projected downward growth for this and next year. National Guard troops are being sent to Portland and Chicago over the past week. This comes against the will of the California governor, whose guardsmen were sent out. California is not the only state whose guardsmen are being sent to assist in keeping the peace. Texas has also sent some soldiers in support. All this comes about seemingly circumventing federal judge Karen Emmergutz's decision last Sunday that temporarily blocked Trump's mobilization of the National Guard. Governor Gavin Newsom pledged that the Trump administration decision would be fought in court. This is because Newsom did not receive an official notice that his troops would be mobilized. Hamas officials arrived in Egypt on October 6th for the peace talks with Israel, arriving on the 7th of October. Marco Rubio, the press secretary of the U.S., had this to say regarding the peace talks. We will know very quickly whether Hamas is serious or not by how these technical talks go in terms of the logistics. According to Marco, there are currently 48 remaining hostages, with 20 of them being alive. Trump has proposed a plan to end the fighting and ensure the release of the hostages. According to Marco Rubio, there are currently 48 remaining hostages, with 20 of them being alive. President Trump has proposed a plan to end the fighting and ensure the release of the hostages. Both Israel and Hamas have agreed to parts of this 20-step plan. Later this week, the first phase of this plan is supposed to take place with the release of the hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. On October 9th, Hamas and Israel signed a ceasefire agreement. Aspects of this agreement are supposed to go into effect October 13th. Over the past weekend, Republican Speaker Johnson and Democratic leader Jeffries have exchanged parcels about the government shutdown. This parcel in question was a letter from Jeffries about holding an open debate regarding the reasons for the shutdown in its current state. Johnson later spoke on Monday about how the letter for a debate was an act of desperation from the Democratic Party due to unfavorable polling. According to The Guardian, recent polls show that the Democrats are held slightly better than the Republicans in regards to the shutdown, while the vast majority just want the shutdowns to end. Currently, the holding point for a reversal of the shutdown appears to be the Affordable Care Act that is set to expire at the end of the year. Kimi Badenoch, the leader of the Conservative Party in Britain, spoke out against theaters of intimidation. And Badenoch pointed to slogans like globalize the Intifada, encouragement for targeting Jewish people for violence. She proposes that the people of Britain should not stand for this behavior anymore. Badenoch goes on to cover how she supports that people can say what they want within the bounds of the law, while she is abhorrent of turning the streets into theaters of intimidation. During her talk, she covered a support for restrictions on repeat protests due to the recent terror attack against Manchester. Later in her speech, Badenoch talked about support for ICE-style deportations if she wins the next election. Badenoch stated, I'm tired of all these irrelevant questions about where should they go. They will go back to where they should go, or another country, but they should not be here. To show her resolve, she told one news source that conservative candidates must sign up to leave the ECHR or be barred from standing in the next election. I'm not 100% happy, but I'm taking that one. Elefin. I'm not reading that. You go to hell. Go to hell.